What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Johnny B podcast. We're doing this thing live. The Flamingos wanted more exposure. They said, Johnny, why aren't we going live for the people on their lunch break on a Friday? And so I thought, we're going to try this. So if you're watching this or listening to this later, just know this is the real deal. We're not clipping, we're not editing, we're not photoshopping, whatever the kids do. This is hashtag no filter. So it's going to be great. I've got a very special guest with me today. We're going to bring him on in just a few minutes. But do all the things for me real quick. We're kind of new to this. We did this a long time ago, and now we're doing the podcast thing again. So like and share and subscribe. Let your mom know. Let your grandma know. All the things. This will be up on all the platforms for you to listen to on your commute to work. So we're here for you. All things church culture. That's what we do around here. We realize there's more church kids out there than we realized. And a lot of people are going through the same things and asking the same questions. So today we're just here to not just share what's going well and what's right in ministry, but to talk about the challenges that we face in ministry as well and have a whole bunch of fun doing it. So I'm going to bring my guest on today. We've had mutual friends. We've been connected for a while, but we're just kind of starting to really form a friendship. His last name is probably the most debated last name pronunciation of all time. So I'm just going to bring him in and let him settle the score and let us know how we pronounce his last name, because I'm not going to do it wrong. Without further ado, welcome my friend Jordan. What's going on, man?
What's up, bro? That is
Brother.
hilarious. Hotly debated
Dude.
last name pronunciation.
It is. Me and my wife, my own wife, we're talking. I was like, yeah, I got Jordan on today, and we're like battling how to say your last name.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say how I say it, and
Yeah.
I'm praying right now, Lord, let it be right. Houghton. Is it
That's it.
Houghton?
Yeah.
Houghton. Okay, not
Yeah.
Houghton.
Not even know.
Okay.
I don't know. So I get Houghton, I get Houston a lot more than you'd think.
Okay.
There's no S
There's,
anywhere in it. But still people go, "Oh, yeah, this is Jordan Houston." I go, "Yep."
that's amazing. Oh my
However you
gosh.
want. I get
That's a
Houghton I've gotten a couple of times. I love it.
Oh my gosh. What
Big
I
fan.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm in a similar boat. My last name is Burkhalter and everyone butchers it.
Yep.
So I years ago someone started calling me Johnny B and we just ran with it and it's kind of stuck ever since. So I get it, man. It's like it's one of those things where it's like, you know what? I'm gonna let you off the hook. You don't have to pronounce my last name, whatever.
Right.
So I love it, dude. I love it. Well, man, we're so pumped to have you on the podcast today. We've honestly, man, we've just been spilling the tea with everybody we've been talking to, just really
Yeah.
talking about ministry and what's going well, which is great. Listen, dude, I was just at a conference yesterday and everybody was celebrating the wins. My ministry has this many people, my ministry reached this many folks, we baptized however many people, and that's great. Like I love that. We need that, but man, I think some of the hidden conversations are the things that we're challenged with, the things that we're going through, that if we're honest, like, cause I'm like real, bro. I grew up in the church, and I learned a long time ago there's Christianese. People like to talk in Christianese, and
We're really
and
good at
and
it. Yeah.
yeah, they're really good at talking churchy. But man, there's something that's so powerful that happens when we just start to talk real. And so
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive into some of that today, and I believe that the conversation is going to help some people, which is what it's all about. So,
Yeah.
but before we go all over the place, let us know who you are. We already know how to pronounce your last name. I'm not saying we're blazing a trail here on the Johnny B podcast, but man, we're settling some debates in the streets. Like we're
Love
like
that.
clearing it up, and we're saying, hey, this is how it's really said. But let us know who you are, what you're doing, what God's doing.
Yeah, well, you know my name. Um, you can hear that I am suffering from allergies pretty substantially today. Um, so that's pretty much me today. Is I have succumbed to the clutches of the allergy demon, so I'm praying against that. Um, no, I'm a creative pastor in Kissimmee, Florida, right now. Um, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I've been in worship ministry for technically 22 years.
Mm,
Uh, when I was 8, so math. Um, yeah, I started playing keys when I was 8. And just kind of, I just wanted to be a keys player and someone's drummer,
wow.
basically. Didn't want to be in the front at all, especially with like the magnifying glass or the spotlight or whatever that was on my dad. I was like, that looks exhausting. Like
Mm,
I don't want that. And so I kind of just ran from being in the front of stuff. I didn't want to sing. When I was 16, 15 or 16, the Lord started speaking to me through some other people. I grew up in like a very, very, very charismatic and Pentecostal and prophetic church.
same.
So it was like youth camp was the on fire special, basically. You know, you go there and everyone gets a word, everyone falls out, and then unfortunately, the side of it is like 2, 3 weeks later, everyone goes back to the same thing but worse.
Mm,
Um, and so I did that for a little bit, but I was 15, I had a lot of questions, um, a lot of frustrations. I was just like, "I think I'm gonna live my life for
mm,
myself." Like, it's just, you know, not to slam anyone, but I'm like, I'm watching all my peers be very, very fake, and
mm,
I'm watching what we do on Sunday not match up on Monday or Tuesday. And
mm.
we get here on Wednesday night for youth, and Friday it's like a whole different ball game. Like your mouth is worse than what I hear in the media.
Wow. Wow.
Like your actions are worse than what I'm seeing in my public school. I don't understand how this is the thing. And so I was like, okay, none of it really matters. I was like, I'm gonna go do secular music. I'm gonna do whatever. Um, and I remember I like rolled my ankle before I was supposed to play drums for this session. I'm like giving you a random rabbit
Yeah.
hole story, but
Come
I'm gonna
on.
do it anyway. And I was praying. I was like, Lord, just let me play the set. Like my right foot hurts so much, and I can't obviously use the kick. So I was like, let me just get up there. So I limped on stage, and downbeat of the first song, I totally fine. No pain,
Wow.
no problems. Get off stage, and it's like right back to pain. So I was like, "Wow, you really took me at my word there." Let me play this set, and that was
Wow.
it. I had an encounter that night with the Lord that I had never experienced before. Like, he spoke very clearly to me, directly to me, and then through a couple of other people, and I was like, "Okay, I guess, you're not like everybody else that I'm seeing.
Mm,
You know, you really are real. You're not,
wow.
back and forth," and so I found that out for myself. So from that point forward, it was like worship ministry through and through. I'm not gonna. I don't want to live this double thing that I've seen everyone do and that I've done to myself. It's exhausting. It takes up too much space. I almost felt like I had like two different phones. And I was
Mm,
hiding one from
wow.
someone.
You got a work
So
phone and a personal phone.
yeah, I got two phones. What? I'm not
Wow.
gonna sing it. I'm not gonna do the song.
Wow.
Pardon me as I take a coffee break. But yeah. So I was about 17 or 18 when I started actually leading worship, and I was bad. Very, very bad. I sounded when I was in high school as a singer, I sounded like a frog caught in a dishwasher crying out for help. It was I have to find a video of me doing like I did a choir concert at my school, and we sang this song called Baba Yetu, and I had a solo, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I got this, and I thought I smashed, and everybody was like, wow, that was so great. Cause like everybody in my school was Mormon,
Wow.
love my Mormon family, but like vocally very, very vanilla. I celebrate it.
Mm, yeah.
But I like kind of came in with like one run that I had that was not very clean. They're like, how do you do that thing with your and I was like, oh, whatever. So I'm thinking like I had it, and then I watched it back and I was like, wow, that is really that's really sad. Um, I should not sing ever again. Uh, so I mean, I just kept working at it, right? And then I had this like moment where I think we've all kind of done it as a creative, right? As a worship leader, as a musician, where we
Sure.
get a little high on our own supply,
Mm,
right? Like we start doing better on something, we start pouring in to our gift and our craft, and we go, I've got this. And it, came up that's on me, stay true, that's
yeah.
on me, like
Wow.
and
Yeah.
like the Lord humbled me pretty substantially. I got around some of the best players
Mm,
that you could ever think of. And I was like, I'm not anywhere near them. So as he would start to speak to me like, hey, you're not in this for you. Like quit making it about yourself, essentially. Like very,
mm,
very real conversations with the Lord. So I got corrected pretty, I don't want to say harshly, but um it was firm. So I kind of learned the hard way, like how to make it about yourself and how to be sacrificial. So over
yes.
the years,
Yeah.
I've been grinding, making sure that I do this thing the right way,
Mm.
because I know what it's like to do it wrong and leave empty, and have that pride creep in like nobody's business. Firsthand,
Wow.
it sucks.
Wow. Yeah, man, you said a lot right there. It's, number one, they talk about pastors' kids and PKs. They could probably write a book on the ups and
They
downs
probably should.
of being a pastor's kid. But someone like yourself, you can probably times that by 10. Some of the things that you saw and experienced, and you see it so young and you're a part of it, you almost want to go the opposite way.
Yeah,
I've got friends who, like yourself, grew up in the do we call it the business? I don't know, in ministry, but
yeah,
in the business side of ministry.
yeah,
And I sometimes I ask them, I'm like, "Are you okay? Like, did it mess you up?" Because
yeah,
I didn't grow up in it, but now my wife and I have the opportunity. We're raising our kids in it, and I'm
yeah.
asking all these people, I'm like, "Are you okay? Like, did it mess
Wow.
you up? Are you socially awkward? Like, are you in therapy? That's cool if you are. Like, give me the name of your therapist. Like, I'm
Yeah,
good with it." Because it is such a weight that I think a lot of people don't understand. I was just texting my wife before we went live, just about I'm like, okay, I've got to do this. I'm going to move this around so that it doesn't overtake family time. Like, it's so
yeah,
important.
yeah,
Um, Now to create rhythms, so that our kids, hopefully, God willing, when they get a little bit older, their
yeah,
experience is so much different than ours. And I was talking to a guy yesterday. We were driving, and we had similar stories of just how we were raised, and I told him, I said there was this era of ministry where I think people thought by picking ministry over their family they were following God. You know what I
right,
mean? Like, they didn't
right.
know, and we can't, hindsight 2020, we can't blame them. That was, I think, the revelation they had at the time. But
Yeah,
now we know better. Now we know that it's God family ministry. Like, there is
yeah,
a rhythm to it. You know what I mean? That is so important that I think we're finally, hopefully, starting to grasp in the church and in gospel music. Like, we're starting to grasp that family's got to be important, and there's got to
yeah,
be space for it, and or whatever. So, and it's a whole thing. But you mentioned, not even wanting to be a worship leader.
yeah.
I can't even imagine, like, the shoes you felt like you had to fill, right? Because that's
Sure.
a natural, maybe thought, you right. And then, but then you go on to
Yeah,
say, like, God says, you know what, don't, those aren't your, wear your pair of shoes. Like, you get
yeah,
to
yeah,
be, you. Can you kind of talk about that, about finding, because I mean, you kind of sound, you're like, DNA don't lie, bro. Like,
no, yeah,
if I close my eyes and you sang one of your dad's songs, like, I might think it, you know what I mean? Like, oh, it sounds
for
like it's
sure.
close. But at the
Yeah,
same time, God's invited you to be Jordan. Can you speak
yeah,
to finding your identity as a man of God, as an artist, as a worship
yeah,
leader?
yeah. And I'll say this. Forgive me if I trail off. I have a wonderful thing called ADHD.
Yeah.
So I find these connections, and I go, oh, I'm going to talk about all these things at once. So buckle up, everybody.
I love it. I love it.
So I that's been a long road, and I think that I probably progressively find my identity a little bit more,
Mm,
every day. Um, it it was something that was difficult growing up because especially when I started, like 8, 9, 10, everyone was like, "You're gonna be just like your dad, and you're gonna this, and you're
mm,
gonna this, and you remind me so much. And can you sing one of your dad's songs?" And then what would come out is like nothing even close.
wow.
And so I just thought I had to be him 2.0.
Mm,
Um, he would tell me over the years too, like he'd say, "Son, I don't care if you're a plumber. Be the best plumber that you can be. Just apply yourself.
mm,
I don't care what it is that you do. I care that you're doing it, and that's what God called you to do, and that you're pouring yourself into it." And so that
mm,
helped a lot. But there's only so much that anyone else can say or do. Um, the real turning point is you making that decision for yourself and coming to
Sure.
the conclusion on your own. Um, so I started leading and started doing, you know, what I thought was normal, like um, emulating him, but not on purpose.
Sure.
Um, and just going like, I have to do this and have to be this sound. I have to do it like this. I have to write these kinds of songs. I have to sing in E all the time. Like, you know what I mean? And I was like,
No, yes. Yeah,
I
oh
I
my
I didn't
god,
have the
yeah.
range. I didn't have the range at the time. Like, I think it was like my range was like this. I had like an octave and a half, and so I was like, "Well, I can't go anywhere near that." So I had certain limitations too, and musically, like, I don't play like he plays.
Right.
He's a really, 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 like, prolific musician on everything, and I, like, just wasn't that like that. I gravitated more towards some of the CCM stuff, and
Sure.
he's kinda done both. But I was like, how for a long time, I was like, "How am I going to blaze the same trail that he did?" And, I have to win Grammys too because I have to be like him and I have to do these things. And then the more that I was like, "Okay, Lord, but what is it that you want me to do?"
Wow.
If it's blaze a trail, cool. I had to get to the point too where I was like, I don't even care if I play another note in my life. I
Mm,
I just want what God wants for me. I just want people to know
wow.
Jesus like I know him. I want people to experience the Lord's presence like I have. That's that's all that I want to see. And
Yeah,
so what it turned into is like my heart for the local church is like right behind my family. And
yeah,
yes, recording music is cool. It's not at the top of the list though. Like I don't care if I ever get an award. I almost hope that I don't. Um, I want to kind of shift the way that the church worships. Have it be a little
mm,
bit more vertical, a little bit more exaltation focused,
yeah,
and less like I'm going to come into these spaces because of what you can do for me, or the way that I think a lot of gospel music has been formatted, which is like everything's going to work for me. It's
mm.
my victory. It's these things for me and these things for me, and not just like I want to spend time with the Lord. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So it's not to slam anyone by any means. Those things are all still scriptural. Those are all still in line. But I kind of have felt a shift in the way that churches are responding and what's like not hitting and getting the best numbers, but what is helping to create the right atmospheres.
sure. No, I love that. I mentioned, I didn't come from a ministry family, but early on, for whatever reason, the Lord saw fit to give me some really great spiritual fathers.
Yeah.
And one of those being Eddie James, who I know we both
Oh
are
yeah.
connected to. Papa, he's,
God
he's still
bless him.
my he's still my dad. I mean, we text weekly to this day. And
Yeah.
then another one being Bishop Clint Brown.
Oh
And
wow.
so I say that because in my 20s, when my beginning, like my ministry genesis was with those guys. And then when the Lord released me from kind of sitting under their ministry to go and step out of my own ministry, I almost had a false like version of what it's supposed to look like, like
Sure.
because these guys like they're doing it on a whole other level. And then
Yeah.
it just comes back to little old Johnny B. And I remember the first tour that we did away from being connected to their name or their ministry or their whatever. My guitar player looked at me and he said, "Bro, I'm not going for less than X amount of money for this, that. This is what we got to have." And I
Yeah.
looked at him and I said, "Bro, nobody knows who we are. Like we've still got to put in the work. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't stop ever,
Mm-mm.
ever." And so like, but I'm grateful for that experience because somewhere along the way, the Lord was kind of preparing me for, when the 20-year-old walks in my office and they think they are the next XYZ, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That, whatever. I can say, "Hey, listen, you might be, but your character, your talent may get you in the room, but you got to have the character to stay
Yeah.
in the room."
Yeah.
And so don't ever get away from the development. But yeah, I've had a similar journey kind of find. Obviously, there is no scenario where I will ever sound like Eddie or like or Pastor Clint. Like no way. Like I mean,
Sure.
I honestly I think they saw me and they're like, we got to help this kid. We got to like get him out of these skinny jeans or whatever. But um
Never gonna happen.
it's never gonna right.
No.
But getting away from that and saying, okay, Lord, who am I? Like, what kind of
Yeah.
worship, not worship, just worship leader, but what kind of worship pastor am I? Like, what
Yeah.
have you called me to do? And even now at 38, bro, I'm old. I'll be 39 this year, but even now, dude,
You look great,
come
by
on,
the
dude.
way.
Listen,
You look
bro,
about 25, God bless you.
almond milk, bro. That's the secret. No,
Almond milk
um,
is crazy.
but I feel like just in the last maybe 12, 18 months, if I really started to feel and that sounds crazy, but
Yeah.
comfortable in my own skin. Like when I get up there to lead worship, I'm not trying to be elevation anymore. I'm not I
Yeah.
mean, I love them. I'm not trying to be Chandler Moore, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to be those guys. Like I can
Mhm.
be influenced, sure, we all can,
Yeah.
but I got to get up there and I've just got to be Johnny. Like
Yeah.
I've got to, almost it's not necessarily what you are taught, it's what you what you catch, right? What is that old
Yeah.
saying? Some things are taught, some things are caught.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly saying, okay, Lord, thank you for what you taught me, but what is it that I've caught? What's in me now that when I get
Yeah.
up there, what's going to flow out of me? Have you kind of had that same experience, like learning like how to be comfortable in your own skin as a worship leader and let
Absolutely.
that flow?
Yeah, I think there's a bigger conversation that I've had with a lot of people, especially a lot of my friends, like, as we have dissected, like, what we've been through, what we've experienced, who God really is, and who we really are as leaders. I think
Mm,
that it's not something that was done intentionally, but how a lot of us came up was, like, the teaching was, like, replicate yourself and your volunteers and your staff. Like,
okay.
make them like you and not make them like Jesus. And it was
Mm,
like, pour into them what you have and not pull out of them who they are supposed to be. And again, it's not intentional, but I think it led to a lot of, like, identity crisis in a lot of us. Um, I think that's been, like, tough for a lot of people to come to terms with. And I think that, um oh god, I wanna be careful because I don't wanna be rude, and I don't want
no,
it
no,
to
no, come
sound
on.
like I can
Speak.
blame the former generation or
Come
whatever,
on,
but,
no.
like,
Speak
there was
prophet.
this whole, like, deconstruction thing
Yeah.
that came forward. I the Sorry, I'm trailing off a little bit, but I'll come back. The bigger thing with that is I've said for the last 2 or 3 years, people haven't been deconstructing, they've been decomposing. Those are 2
Mm,
different concepts. When you deconstruct from something, it's because you care about it and you want to know more about the smaller ingredients that make up the bigger picture. So we can go to, like, a gastropub and go, like, "I wanna get the deconstructed carne asada tacos." And it's all these
mm,
different pieces that you can appreciate by themselves and then together, and you understand kind of the inception and why this had to be marinated like this and this had to be cut like this. It makes sense. I think that I think Job deconstructed for
mm,
sure. I think David deconstructed. I think that obviously Saul did. Like, didn't really go well for him. I think that there was a lot of things that you can find in scripture of people that actually picked apart what they believe and why they believe it, and they got more firm in their faith. Um, and so I kind of had to come to that as well on my own and go, what was I taught that was correct? What was I taught that was incorrect? Why is it that I put ministry before my family? Like, why did I almost lose my family? I had to come to my
mm,
wife a year and a half ago and, like, tell her I'm sorry. I was like, I have put the ministry and the work of essentially keeping a building together over keeping my house in order. And
mm,
I I prioritized being at the office late and not making appointments with my family to make sure that they know who I am. You know,
mm,
I don't want to get to heaven and the Lord say, "Depart from me, for I never knew you." And I also don't want my kids to look at me and be like, "I never knew who you were in 20 years."
mm,
I can't have that.
bro.
You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, I don't want all of my interactions with my family and my kids to be transactional because I'm building the ministry. Because ultimately, if this is thriving over here, my family is dying, this is meaningless. This is a facade. It's going to fall, then I'm going to fall with it or before it. And so I think what have
wow.
we seen over the last 20, 30, 40 years is like these massive things falling down and these people with these gigantic moral failures or whatever. Like just like just like Samson, it was one thing at a time. It was one little decision here and there that was just incorrect or just incorrect enough that built over time that then led to a gigantic fall. And I don't think
Mm,
that people can't recover. Obviously, they do. It's all about heart position, but the the priorities need to be in order. I've had to learn that the hard way. Like
wow.
I have a very very long testimony. We don't even have time for all of it. Maybe offline I can give you some more context. But like I view things the way that I do, and I am the man that I am because I've made a lot of the wrong decisions, and I've been through all the ups and downs that you can think of, and I'm still standing. And I'm like, yo, I know what mistakes that I made. I know what was done to me and what I've done, and I'm not gonna make excuses for anything that I have done that's a little bit unsavory. Nothing like
Mm,
crazy massive by any means, but I I know who I am now. I know who the Lord is because I've had to do that on my own instead of trying to be like somebody else.
wow. Wow. No, bro, there's a whole word right there where you just were. I mean, that was incredible. Yeah, no, I mean, you said a lot. I think one of the things that's been highlighted for me lately is as men of God, we feel like we have to choose. Are we going to be a good dad and husband? Or are we going to be a good pastor or leader? And I heard something yesterday that just kind of shook me to my core. And he says, as leaders, we're invited into the burden of both, right?
Yeah.
Like, like the Lord, he's not the lion sometimes and the lamb sometimes. He's both lion and lamb all the time. You know what I mean? Like but we're invited into this burden of both, and we can be both at the same time, like with the Lord's help,
Right.
and I mean, I'm right there with you. It's gotta be, man, I mean, I couldn't have said it better. I don't want at the end of the day, my kids to not know, who I am. I say all the time, ministry isn't what I do, it's what we do. Like this has
Yeah.
got to be us, like
Yeah.
we're doing a bunch of summer camps this summer and doing worship and whatever. And we're teaching our kids the songs. Like we're like, you know what? There
Yeah.
might be a moment we may just bring you, they're 7 and 5, so it'll be a whole thing. It'll be a vibe. But
For
you know
sure.
what? Like we want them to feel a part of it. And I think it's got to be intentional though. It doesn't happen on accident. Like you have to wake up, especially if I feel like we're probably wired the same, Jordan. Like I got to wake up and I got to like think about it. And if it's not on my to-do list, it doesn't get done. You know what I mean? Like I'm ADD element of P, bro. Like I'm all over the map. Like, and so if I can't see it and track it and trace it,
Yeah.
sometimes it'll fall through the cracks,
Yeah. It just won't happen. Yeah.
I mean, it's just but you fight for it. You fight
Yeah.
for it, and you say this is important to me to do this. And gratefully, we're a part of a great staff that values that and helps us. It's hard, it's difficult. You have to have support. You know what I mean? Like you can't
Yeah.
do
Community
it
is important.
alone. Community is so important. It's so important, but I love that, man, and it's so true. At the end of the day, we've got to welcome the burden of both and say, okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna be both a good husband and father and a good pastor and leader, and we
Yeah.
can do it through God's help. So I love that, man. Well, dude, share just a couple of things. I want to dive into the challenging areas, like I said, but if you could just take a few minutes and let us know what's working for you right now. Like if you had a like 30 seconds in an elevator with a young worship leader, and he said, what's one thing, two things that's working that I can do right now, what would you say
Yeah.
those things are?
Um, Honesty,
Mm,
probably the biggest one. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine. He had asked me, "How can I help you?" And I was like, I said, normally I lie to people with that question
wow.
because we're so used to helping everybody else that when someone offers help to us, we like can't. It's like either a pride thing or an optics thing, but it's just like we just, no, man, I'm good. I got it. And you
Yeah.
freaking don't. Like, I told him, I was like, this is what's going on with me. I feel like this. I feel like this. And like, I know God has a plan, but these are some things that I definitely need someone to hold my arms up with.
Mm,
which we see in Scripture. We see that David couldn't do it alone. We see that Moses couldn't do it alone. Like, but we can't, for whatever reason, especially as leaders in ministry, like really fully accept it and be honest. And I think that, especially if I can talk to my younger self, I would
mm,
say when someone asks you how you are, don't just be like, "Yeah, I'm so good," if you're not. Like,
mm.
obviously, time and place. Like, if someone who is like your volunteer and they're struggling, you know, be like, "Oh man, I got these 25 things going on too." They're gonna be like, "Bro, I can't trust you." Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yes, you can be honest and you can be strategically honest. Like for sure, there's a balance to it. There's like how many leadership books and talks about like your different circles and different levels of honesty, but like you actually have to do it.
Mm,
Um, so that I think that also being honest with yourself
come
about
on.
your limits and finding the right boundaries. Going, I can do this, and I'm not going to burn myself out. Versus, I'll just do everything because I got to grind for the ministry and I got to work my way up, so to speak, and um, in the church or grind to get a certain amount of Instagram followers or to get that blue check mark without paying for it. Like
Mm,
whatever the whole thing is, like instead of striving for status, actually strive for health and stability. Um, so those are just a couple quick things. I'm
I
trying not
love
to
it.
trail off.
No, I love it. One of my favorite quotes is "Healthy things grow." You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like they just do. Healthy things grow. You gotta stay healthy and you know, even back to like what you just said, just being honest. It's so crazy. That
yeah,
seems to be a common conversation right now
yeah,
with leaders that I'm talking
yeah,
to. You know, and I think it goes back to trying to break that facade of we got to speak Christianese all the time. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
we get to be real, you know, and I think that's where the kingdom is headed. I definitely know that's where the next generation coming up, the Gen Z, like that's their language, bro. Authenticity
yeah.
is their language. And
100%. I've been saying that for years, especially millennials like myself. I don't want something that's going to be fake. And so
mm,
even with music and with worship artists and Christian artists, I can tell if it's just for the label. I can tell if it's just for the views or just for the streams, and they're still going to get them for sure. Um, but it's a lot less now. And when people
mm,
accidentally put up a facade, again, I think everybody's well intentioned. I don't think anyone really has any ill will, and if they do, like, it gets found out and the Lord handles it, and then they have the ability to recover. But Gen Z knows.
mm,
We millennials know. We're all starting to know and be like, I can't take this seriously, and I don't know why. Or I listen to this person, it makes me uncomfortable. It's discernment.
mm,
And you just go like, it's if it's not authentic, I'm not gonna be with it. I've talked to youth pastors about it. I've talked to worship leaders about it. I just did
mm.
it's like a video shoot, and I was just playing keys, and they ended up capturing like choir like noise. And for the shots, and I asked the guy who was in charge, I was like, Can I say something? Can I speak?" And he was like, "Please." And so I was like, "Hey," I said, can we just worship with this?" I was like, "I know this is for a video, but even more so, like, just press in with these words. They're powerful." Where it was in Spanish, but it was, like, the translation was "Eternal King." I'm like, "You're talking about how Jesus is gonna
Mm.
reign forever and why, and you're exalting him, and you're glorifying him, you're magnifying him." I was like, "Can we not do this like there's cameras here?" So even
Wow.
more to that point, like, if the whole goal of this is that people get touched by it, and not necessarily that there's views, but that those views are actually impacted, people that are watching it are like, "Yo, I can feel the presence of God." I was like, "You need to bring it here now in the
Mm,
kindest possible way." And they were like, "Oh, okay." Like,
wow.
I just again, we've seen a lot, we've done a lot,
Wow.
but when you can see I wanna be careful. When you can see how accidentally manufactured things are, it pushes you more towards the more
Mm.
authentic things. I'd rather see something that's a little bit messy and more organic and more
Come
authentic
on.
than something that's too polished and not real.
Come on. I love that. And you mentioned even, you know, as leaders, like there's a
Yeah,
level of vulnerability I think that is required for us to lead
yeah,
the next generation, but to lead in this season.
yeah,
We have a worship leader here at our church. One of the places I feel like God's really put me lately is pouring into the next generation. Man, I just feel so called to do it. And so anytime
yeah,
I see like a 20, 25-year-old worship leader, I'm like, my guy, come on, let's go.
For
or
sure.
whatever, so but we have a worship leader here, and this person's probably the best singer on our team. Like, I mean, it's a girl, and she's just, I mean, move over Carrie, move over Kim, move over Brooke.
That's
Like,
dope.
she is amazing. But I told her, I said, it's the empathy for people that's gonna change the game for you.
Right.
Because right now you're singing every note and it's beautiful and it's polished, like you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
but something's gonna shift in you when the next time you sing a song like More Than Able,
Mm.
you let yourself go to a place when
Yeah.
you remember that the
Yeah.
cards were stacked against you, but
Yeah.
somehow God did an impossible thing. And you know what I
Yeah.
mean? He made it
Yeah.
possible. And when you begin to see the people you're leading as others going through impossible situations. Like, there's
Mhm.
something that happens when we get empathy for people and when we get honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm in the same seat, man. I want to lead more vulnerably and more honest in this next
Yeah.
season. And I
Yeah.
know it doesn't fit a job description. It doesn't fit. I mean, we all look at the clock and we see when it goes red. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we know when our we know when our time is up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you had 3 minutes for this call to worship and you've gone five. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. But man, it
Interesting. Yeah.
ha- it happened this last Sunday. There was just a moment off the cuff. It wasn't planned, and I almost landed the plane. You know how it feels when you're like, all
Yeah.
right,
I do.
I'll just hand it over. But something in me wouldn't let me, and I said, guys, we're gonna stay in this moment, and I
Yeah.
want us to understand the depth of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And I could just feel, and our church, we're in a season of where we're both spirit led and structured. Like, we got it, we
Sure.
got both. But man, I'm like, let's just let our hair down for a second and
Yeah.
let's be honest with what God's doing in the room.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments, man, like, those
Mhm.
are I want to live there, bro. I just
Yeah.
do. And I think the songs that change a generation, like the some of the songs even that your dad wrote, and the songs
For
like a
sure.
Howie loves, or a reckless loves, or to
Oh my
worship you
gosh. Yeah.
to worship you I live,
Timeless.
like away from the noise, like
Yeah.
those. I would put money that those types of lyrics and songs come from
Yes.
a honest, vulnerable
100%.
place.
100%. I say this about hymns a lot. Reason why they still work is because the intention was not for them to be worldwide. The intention
Mm,
was for them to be honest and for them to touch the heart of the Lord. And a lot of them are just prayers. I exalt thee, O Lord. Super simple. Or how great thou art. Like,
mm,
you're recognizing the splendor really of who he is and the magnitude of what he can do, at least to the limits that, we can understand. And not like, "Oh, this is gonna wreck churches." You know what I mean? I've been in
mm,
those sessions with these guys that are like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be an anthem, and it's blah," and we all talk about how big they're gonna be and not how much it's going to bless the Lord, and not
mm,
like how honest it really is. My favorite songs that I've written were written in tears in an apartment somewhere or in my house or in a bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, just talking to the Lord or in my car, like, I have to write this down because I can't get away from it.
mm,
I have one it's called Yes. Very simple. It's one of the most simple songs that I've ever written. And I I had written one thing, and I brought it in a session with a friend of mine, and I was like, this chorus just doesn't feel right because I was forcing something. The melody was right, but the lyrics, it just didn't land.
mm,
And as we're talking, I was just like, okay, God, what do I need to say to you? Like, let's just pretend I'm not even gonna release this. Let's not even worry about it for the recording. Let's not worry about it for anybody else. What do I need to say to you? And how honest do I need to be? And it just came out.
mm,
As we're writing it, and I look at the guy on Zoom, and he was like, "That's the one." And I sang it that weekend, and I couldn't get through it.
mm.
And something
Wow.
changed in our church, and something changes every single time that I sing that song, and I was like, I don't care if this really gets released at all. I don't care how many streams it gets because I know that the Lord wrote that with me essentially. Like, we're
Mm.
co-writers on that, as weird as that might sound,
Wow.
but
Come
like
on.
it's honest. And when people sing these things, it changes something in them.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, there's a lot there. Sorry.
No, no, that's absolutely, man. And I think, you hear stories of some of these incredible songs that people maybe think, like, there's the story of even the blessing when they
Yeah.
wrote, when Carrie and the guys wrote that song, the day was done and they were going to leave, right? But there was this lingering lyric and this lingering melody, and so they're like, let's just stay for a little while longer. That right there will
Yeah.
preach. Let's just
Yeah.
stay for a little while longer.
$100%.
Write the book, Jordan. But
We should
you
write
know
it
what I mean.
together.
Come on. But I mean, so it's just, those are the moments, I think, like you said, that we just we take the pressure off, right? Because
Yeah.
there's no pressure in his presence. There's not.
Yeah.
We take the pressure off and we just write from a real place.
Yeah.
Man, it's so good. And I think, like you said, the songs that last, that stay around,
Yeah.
that change not just one generation, but two generations, three, four,
Yeah.
five. We're going to be singing "How Great Thou Art" forever, right?
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
probably be on the on the Bluetooth speaker in heaven. You know what I'm saying? Like that's probably
Every
his.
single one of the Bluetooth
He's,
speakers. Yeah. They're gonna
yeah.
link
So
up like
yeah.
HomePods.
But it was written from a real place, man. I
Yeah.
love that, dude. Well, dude, I want to ask you one more question. I want you to just kind of let us in, kind of pull back the curtain. Like, what are some areas right now? We know being honest is what's winning, and dude, I love
Mhm.
that. Like, I'm gonna take that to the bank today. But what are some things right now that either aren't working or are challenging, or even maybe some things that worked before, but
Mhm.
they're not working now? Maybe God's changing some things. What are some of those things?
Um, I I would say what is working now is space.
Mm,
Um, you kinda touched on it a bit earlier, but, like, creating space even in our rehearsals. Like, what worked before for a lot of people was hammering every single note every single time and just really practicing to give excellence or whatever. And then what the product that they gave was, like, we're able to step away from these songs because we've done them so much and we know every single note that we're supposed to play, and so now we can just focus on worshiping. But that ends up being counterproductive because what you practice is what you're going to perform essentially.
mm,
And so we've just kind of ingrained not just excellence but perfection on accident, in how we're displaying things. And so what's been working more, especially for my team, is just, yes, we're going to go over the details until we know really, but not overkill. And we just take time in rehearsal. And a lot of times we're just quiet, and I'll just get on keys and I'll start playing. And sometimes people will start to sing out. They will prophesy over each other. They will pray for each other. We just take moments in the presence of God together. Then when it happens on Sundays, it's it's expected, um, that God moves and that we are
mm,
comfortable in the silence. Um, so from a team standpoint, that's just something that did work, doesn't work, and now like kind of a solution to it. I think that the toughest thing in ministry, from even what I've talked with other people about, is balance and boundaries. Um, eh, as much as I'd like to say I have the whole formula down, I don't. Um,
mm,
and so I say, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I used to struggle with, but we still struggle with it, in different seasons, and locking into the right community. Um, I think you're supposed to be very, very, very connected to your church, and to that body. But I also think that, we need to make better connections just with the church at large and stop competing with one another. And that's a whole different podcast. But
mm,
um, that's been really difficult to see people still trying to one up everyone else. Even on the
mm,
stage, like I've been in other places where I get there and then the worship guy or the worship gal is just either subconsciously intimidated or angry. Um, and I think this isn't for me to say that like I bring out insecurities in people, but like you get to see if people do have some lingering insecurities or some hurt from other things based on how they treat a guest that comes in. I have been that person. I'm a lot more confident now. I'm a lot more secure now in who I am and who God made me to be. Um, I know what I'm doing. I know that sounds probably bad. Um, I don't know what I'm doing all the time. I don't have
mm,
the answer to everything, but what He's called me to do and what I function in, I am very serious about it. I think that kind of that scares people. My dad has told me before, and I don't remember who said it, but he said, greatness is not that, like, confident greatness is not intimidated in the presence of other greatness.
Mm,
And so, like, if you know who you are and you know whose you are, when you get around somebody else, regardless of what level that they're operating at, what level you're operating at, you're not intimidated by them and you're not afraid of them because you're secure in your own lane. I think that overall we need to do a better job of equipping people to be secure in their own lane, whatever it is. We have just told people for years, I know I'm trailing off, I'll come back, that like you're going to change the world and you're going to be nationwide and you're going to be international. You're going to do all this stuff. And so everybody now thinks that they're going to get in first class and travel to New Zealand and change the world by themselves instead of doing it in their community.
mm,
Um, so that's been kind of some of the rub that I've seen. Um, for me, the challenging thing is like staying in consistent community with people, finding the right common ground with folks, and like really staying connected. Um, that's been a challenge. It's been a challenge for forever, but I really feel it now at 30. Like, oh, I need friends. I have I have a couple of really good friends, but they're not like here, so it's a little tough just doing everything over Zoom or FaceTime or over text.
sure.
And it's all helpful, but being able to actually go like to a coffee shop or somewhere to sit down with someone and just really fully be honest is it's a game changer.
Man, that's so, dude, that is so good. I love that. Even Jesus had 12, but then he also had the three. You know what I mean? Like there's different layers of of friendship that you can let
Yeah.
people in on. And dude, it's so important. I mean, community is so vital, and not just, somebody said one time, they said you need to find people who know you as Johnny and not Pastor Johnny.
100%.
You know what I mean? And there's these there's
100%.
there's those people you need to be able to go to their house in your PJs or whatever. You know what I mean? Eat
Yeah.
Chinese food, don't count your calories or your carbs, and just be honest and be real. Like
Yeah.
you need those people in your life, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, it's just that was so incredible, dude. Well, I'll have to come to Kissimmee and show you that coffee shop that I told you about, and
Definitely.
we'll get some coffee. But before last thing, I always like to just drop a couple of fun questions.
Sure.
Before I get to that, I saw on the gram, and you don't have to like tell the whole story, but
We
I
don't
think
have
it's
time probably.
right. But so I know you proposed in a very unique way
Yeah.
to your wife. Can you tell us that story real quick?
Yeah, so I was on American Idol, and I forget that that happens actually quite a bit.
The Lord erased it. No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, it was that's a we'll actually talk offline about more of the
Uh,
ins and
uh,
outs for
okay.
sure, just 'cause there's so many details with it, but I, I had always wanted to do it. I emailed someone that had contacted me from The Voice, like, not too long before that. I said no. I was like, "No, I don't wanna do it," and then I was like, "It's a bucket list, so I'll try it." They ended up emailing me like 2 or 3 days later from American Idol. Never got my email from The Voice because it's not active anymore. So I was like, "I guess God wants me to do this," right? So I did it, went through the process, and, like, I was like, "I think this is a really good time to propose to my girlfriend. I think this is gonna be
Come on.
dope because she's absolutely the one." And so I told the producer, I was like, "This is what I wanna do." He's like, "Great, let's do it." Super nervous, but then I got in the room and I was like, "What if they say no?"
Right, right.
And I'm just like, I know you said no, but can I propose to my girlfriend anyways? So
Oh,
not
what if the
gonna be the
producers?
move.
I thought you
What
were
if the
like, what if
judges
she?
said no?
Oh, I thought you said,
Oh,
what if
she wasn't
she
gonna
says
say
no?
she wasn't gonna say no. But if she did, I'd be like, I guess it's good TV." Right? Then I get the sympathy vote or whatever.
Right.
But I got in, I got the yeses, and so I was like, can I bring my girlfriend in here?" And so I proposed, and what they didn't show was Katie actually took Liera's ring off of her finger. She's like, "Can I see it?" And, like, put it on, and I didn't think she was gonna give it back. 'Cause she went and, like, put it on, she's like, "Wow, this ring is so amazing." I was like, "Give it back."
I'm gonna need that back. I'm paying that
So,
off
yeah,
still. No.
that whole that whole process was so insane. The
Wow.
Idol experience is not for the faint of heart. When they do the Hollywood week, it's stressful. I think I got like 5 hours of sleep the entire week. And thankfully,
Wow.
like, my wife was there with me through the whole entire process. So, like, at the end of the night, I'd be able to call her because we obviously weren't together. Um, so she just, she's the best. My wife is
Wow.
amazing.
No, that's I love that story. I never did the idol thing. Now I'm too old now. I aged out. I think you got to be
I don't
like
I don't recommend it.
27 or 28. I
Yeah,
don't know.
28's the cap now.
Yeah, which is crazy, man. Like, what
I
about us,
know.
slightly older,
The
people out
voice.
there? But the voice,
They
there
got
you go.
they got the voice
Uh,
for you.
it's so funny. I love Katie. Her dad, is in ministry, and we've known each other for a long time.
Mhm.
And I tell people all the time, like, what you see is what you get. Like, that is
Yeah,
who she is. Like, it's legit who she
absolutely.
is. Like, that is not a
Yeah,
character. I'm sure some people have their TV like vibe or their stage
yeah.
vibe, and then their like personal vibe. She's just 100, like all the time.
No,
Like,
she is. She
take it or leave it.
when they told us that we made it to, the top 40 in the room, she knew who I was when
Sure.
I came in the audition. She kinda looked at me and was like, "How'd you get you started in music?" I said, "Well, my parents raised me in church. My dad's a gospel artist." She said, "Which one?" I said, "Which church?" She goes, "No, no, who's your dad?" So I told her and she was like, "Yeah, I know your dad.
Come
Like
on,
I
come on.
grew up on his music." And then
Sure.
so I auditioned and she was like, "Well, you sound just like your dad, but I want to see who you are."
Mm,
Um, and so then I made it through the process and they said, You guys made it to Hawaii." She comes up to me and she's like, "Congrats, you deserve it."
mm,
And I was tired. I was like going through some stuff. And so I was like, "Are you sure?" And I got like teary eyed and she hugged me so tight and she was like, "I know some of what you've been through. I know kind of where you come from. I'm sorry for for the bad things that you've experienced, but like you got this." And I was floored. I was like, man, because I had heard that about her and I got to see who she really is. And I was like,
mm. Yeah,
I'm a fan forever.
yeah.
I love her. So
Come on,
she was really helpful through the process.
I'm a cry. Keith, if you're watching this, her dad, you left me on red, so I'm gonna need you to text me back. You're not watching this, but it's all right. Anyway. All right. Well, couple quick things, and we'll get off
Sure.
here. I know you got to go. We'll go quick. Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Neither.
Local. Okay. Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, yeah, that's if I had to pick, it'd be Starbucks because I used to work there, but always a local coffee shop or anyone who's like third wave has like single origin. If I walk in, they do Chemex or V60, I'm gonna be like, okay, this is so much better than
Come on.
whatever Starbucks could give me.
Or Dutch Bros. Come on. Come on. Shout
I
out.
also worked at Dutch Bros. I love Dutch Bros.
Love it. Okay. Friends or Seinfeld? That seems to be a big
Friends.
debate. Friend. Okay, there we
Yeah,
go.
Friends.
That's why we can
Probably,
rock.
honestly, New Girl over Friends, but
Hot take. Hot take. I love New Girl,
Friends is
bro.
like the classic, but
It's
Seinfeld's
just
cool, but
yeah.
I love New Girl.
Okay. All right. I love. Okay, dude. New Girl. That's a sleeper hit, dude. Did
Yeah,
you watch How I Met Your Mother, dude?
I did.
Oh
I
god.
did all the way through.
In the fields. I love it. Okay. Are you binge watching or binge reading?
Definitely not binge reading. I should read more than I do. I only read the Bible. I just can't like sit down long enough. So I
Sure.
watch.
I
My wife and I are watching Breaking Bad. She's never seen it before.
Oh my god, dude, listen,
So
when you're done, go have you watched Better Call Saul?
I haven't yet. No, so we're gonna do that next.
Dude, it's not it's a hot take, but not a hot take because a lot of people, at least on the internet, would agree. Better Call Saul is even better, bro. Like
I don't believe you.
I know it sounds
There's no
impossible,
way.
dude. I'm telling you,
Well,
like,
Bob Odenkirk is pretty amazing. He's a
yes,
great
bro.
actor. He's also very, very, very funny. But
Yes.
he's one of a kind.
But Bob, listen, you just
If you're
gotta
watching Bob,
Bob, if you if you're watching Bob and you need a tax write-off, we are a nonprofit. No, I'm kidding. Um,
hilarious.
there's something about Better Call Saul. It's charm. I can't even. I don't even want to give it away. But once you
I
get through
understand.
Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul is incredible. It
Okay,
is. I mean, it's incredible. Last thing. This one we'll have to. This could be a whole other podcast all by itself. But
probably.
we'll keep it quick. Taco Bell or Del Taco?
Never Del Taco. Never Del Taco. They wish.
Never.
Never Del Taco. I mean I've obviously I from Arizona I've had both.
Sure.
Del Taco just is like a little sad to me.
Oh, okay. I
Taco
mean,
Bell's the champ for a reason, man. I'm
it is.
just
Listen,
saying.
I said almond milk was the secret to eternal youth, but it might be Taco Bell. I
I think
have
it
it.
is.
I eat it so
I
much.
think, yeah, yeah, that,
But
the Doritos taco, man.
come, dude,
When they
that'll
first
be
came
in
out with that, I was like, "Okay, I guess this is just my favorite now forever. Help me, Jesus."
that'll be in heaven. I told my wife if
Yeah,
I said I need to speak in faith. When we make $1 million,
yeah,
when I'm still gonna eat 2 things, Taco Bell and ramen noodles. Bro, ramen
for
slaps, dude.
sure. It
I I
does.
I had some
Any
yesterday.
day.
It's so good, bro. I don't care that it's what, 29 cents. Like, I don't care. It's so
Yeah,
good,
all
and
MSG'd up and everything. It's fine.
God's in it. God's in it. Well, all right.
Shoot.
All right, bro. I appreciate your time today, man. I know your time is precious and valuable. I appreciate it so
Man,
much. We'll definitely chat. We'll get some local coffee shop bro
absolutely.
hangs on the schedule. We'll make it happen. But y'all, thanks for watching. I know we had some people in and out on the live. This is the first time we've ever gone live. I didn't even text my mom and tell her, so that's probably why she wasn't watching. But it'll be on all the platforms, all the things. Remember, we're here for all things church culture. We're just a bunch of church kids talking about church kid stuff. So like, share, subscribe, drop in the comments. We got to know. Del Taco, is it dead to you? Does it have a chance? We need to know. All right, y'all. We'll see you later on the Johnny B podcast.